Every parent, teacher, or older sibling knows the quiet power of being watched. You're cooking supper, teaching a lesson, talking with your friends, or losing your patience, and you look up to see a child's eyes fixed on you, watching you, seeing what you're about to do. They're learning. They're figuring out who you really are. Whatever you tolerate, they'll think is allowed. Whatever you love, they'll start to love. Jesus knows that power too. In today's gospel, he says, "Woe to the one through whom sin comes." It's a wake-up call. Whether you're a parent, priest, teacher, or friend, someone is always watching how you'll live the faith. Our example either strengthens someone's soul or weakens it. There is no neutral ground, as Jesus so often reminds us. That's a heavy thought, and one we often try to hide from. We either tell our children, "Do as I say, not as I do." We tell our siblings, "Leave me alone, mind your own business." Or to a friend who's trying to correct us, we'll say, "How dare you speak to me that way?" In the end, it all comes down to pride and comfort. We tell ourselves, "I'm doing my best, and God knows my heart. He knows that I try to be a good person." But the book of wisdom cuts right through that comfort. God is the witness of the inmost self, the listener to the tongue. There is no hiding from the Spirit who fills the world. And perhaps that's the actual struggle. We live as though God observes from a distance, as if he's in the clouds, looking down, and perhaps sometimes he's not looking at us, and so maybe we can get away with it. But instead, he's dwelling in us. When we forget his nearness, sin becomes easier to excuse and forgiveness harder to give. We become selective about the truth. We become careful about our image and careless with holiness. And it's not that we mean to cause harm, but scandal, which is anything that can lead someone else to sin, is always pretty subtle. It doesn't always make the news. Rather, it can look like bitterness in the home, gossip at work, apathy towards Sunday Mass, or cruel judgments that we share with our friends. Even our smallest habits can either build walls or open doors in another person's soul. And then Jesus does not soften his words either. He says it would be better to sink into the sea with a millstone around our necks than to cause a little innocent one to sin. But he doesn't leave us in fear. He immediately turns to forgiveness. "If your brother sins, rebuke him, and if he repents, forgive him, even 7 times a day." The apostles, like us, hear the weight of this, and so they cry out a prayer. "Lord, increase our faith." They know that kind of forgiveness, that kind of courageous rebuke, it can't come from effort. It comes from grace. And Jesus responds with the image of the mustard seed. We think that it requires, a Mount Everest size of grace to forgive the people in our lives who have hurt us. But Jesus says, if you just had faith the size of a mustard seed, not only could you forgive easily, but you could say to a tree, "Be uprooted and jump into the sea," and it would do it. It sounds like a ridiculous image, but that's quite the point. It sounds impossible, but as Jesus says in another part of the gospel, for you it is. But with God, all things are possible. That's his way of saying it's not about the size of your faith, but about whether it is alive in you. Living faith allows the impossible, real forgiveness, lasting conversion, and courageous holiness. Real grace can take root where resentment and pride once grew and turn it into holiness. And we've all been on both sides of the story. We've been the one who hurt and the one who was hurt. We've watched others stumble because of something we said or failed to do. And we felt the pull of bitterness and resentment when forgiveness feels impossible. And that's why today's psalm should be comforting. Lord, where can I go from your spirit? Well, the answer, of course, is nowhere. There is nowhere that we can escape the Spirit of God. But God doesn't search our hearts to shame us. When we look at one another, we're analyzing, we're critiquing. But when God looks at us, he's searching for wounds to heal. His gaze isn't like the world's. The world watches to judge, but God watches to redeem. The Spirit of wisdom doesn't expose our faults to condemn us, but to cleanse us. And here at the altar, we come under that same gaze again, which is why we might hesitate to come to Mass more often, why we might hesitate to go to adoration, because of that look that Jesus gives to us. But lest we forget, what we see here is a physical sign of an invisible reality. God always sees us. It's just that sometimes we need help to see him also. Jesus Christ truly present in the Eucharist. And before the consecration, the priest always says, "Lift up your hearts." It's a command, not a question. It means, bring your divided heart into the light of God. Let him search it and let him heal what is hidden. Every time we receive the Eucharist, we are asking to become him whom we behold, the pure offering of Christ himself. His body was broken by our sin, yet he becomes our food. His blood was spilled by human betrayal, and yet he becomes our forgiveness. So when you leave this church today, remember your smallest act of faith, a whispered prayer, a patient word, or a refusal to gossip, has eternal weight. The Spirit of the Lord fills the world. He is not far. He is searching, guiding, forgiving, and strengthening those who dare to love as he loves. Ask for the mustard seed today, because even that small faith can heal what pride has divided, and it can make your home holy ground again. Let him see your heart, so that he can make it his.